It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming on YouTube at the Team 980. Anthony, what music are we starting the show with? Also, why are you not on camera? The people are going to want to see you. If for those that are watching, you think they watch for me? What do you think?
Did the camera go down?
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. There we go. Okay. Now we'll get you. We'll get Anthony on the screen. Everybody relax. And also, more importantly, perhaps in the long term, I can see Anthony. That's an important detail. Yeah. But what song was that? I kind of like the vibe.
Painted Black, Rolling Stones.
Oh, I feel like I should know that one.
That's my jam right there.
I see that. Okay, well, that's how we're starting our Friday, and
yes,
you better enjoy the show while it lasts, because we're only on until 5:30 today. Yes, 5:30 before we. Anthony, you don't look too excited.
No, Craig, you don't sound too excited, man.
I'm excited for Maryland football tonight. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you look like you were excited to get off of work and not give the people a full show, and I'm just like, let's go Turtles.
No, I want to watch the Terps, so I'm more than excited to watch our guys go out there and try to get a dub.
All right, so we got that coming up at 5:30. So here's how the show's going to look. We're going to talk about the Commanders-Cardinals game. We're going to do that for like 7-8 minutes here off the top. Then we're going to take your calls on a Finish Friday where you tell us what's going to happen on Sunday. That's right. We get your predictions, Finish Friday style, at 301-230-0980. At 4:30, we're going to go around the NFL. Typically, we do that at 5:30, but we still got to get all our picks in, preview all the games, and then our pick 6 will happen at 5 because the show's not on at 6 because of the Terrapins, and so we will do our pick 6 at 6.
I got one thing to tell you. It's not the Terrapins. It's Virginia Tech.
Oh, it's the Hokies tonight. Why do you think it's the Terps? Probably because
Hokies.
it's our station, and typically the Hokies are over on 106.7.
Yep.
Go Hokies! Look, I've been exposed. I knew that we were done working at 5:30, and let's be honest, everyone can relate to getting off early on a Friday. It doesn't happen to us very often. Occasionally during the Wizards season, we get off a whole 15 minutes early.
March Madness, we've had one day off before.
March Madness Friday, we get the whole day off. That is our one. Well, Thursday we get it too. Those are our 2 days a year. The afternoon show does not get cut off by day baseball. It does not. We don't get some of the stuff that occasionally some other shows on other stations or on other stations do. And I think that's okay to say out loud. People are allowed to be happy for us, Anthony. That's what I think. All right. People want me to talk about the football game. But I'm gonna start by asking you a question, Anthony. What is the most intriguing part of this game for you on Sunday? Like, what do you think is the key matchup on Sunday?
The key matchup?
Yeah, like, really what I'm going for is, like, which side determines whether they win on Sunday? The offense or the
obviously
defense?
It's going to be the offense. No question. No if, ands, or buts. The last 2 games, they've been very efficient. They've executed. Last game in particular, they didn't get behind on the sticks, so we were able to, sustain drives and keep those going. And when your offense is clicking on all cylinders, I just feel as though it's really going to be hard to, and we're scoring actual touchdowns instead of kicking field goals. I think it's going to be hard to, lose a game like that. Disregarding, I guess, what the defense does if your offense is clicking that well.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I think the thing for me though is I don't expect the offense to continue to play this well. Like I think it's unreasonable for them to continue to play this well. I think that you have to just expect there's going to be some level of regression to the mean, right? There's going to be some turnover. There's going to be some, certainly punt. Like there's just no way. They haven't had a turnover or a punt in back-to-back games. That has never happened in the Super Bowl era. So you think they're going to make it 3 in a row, which means they've gone back-to-back twice in a row, something that's never happened. They're just going to do again. And so I think for me, like we always start the show with what's at stake, right? And for me, what's at stake today or on Sunday is this defense proving that they're along for the ride. That this is kind of the first checkpoint in the experiment. Not that I think if it fails that it's a failed experiment forever, But I do think 4 games is enough to go, okay, can we see real, like, can everybody see progress? It's one thing for me or for someone, especially as nuanced, with an eye as Logan, to watch the defensive tape and be like, okay, I see some stuff coming along, but they still gave up 33, right? Okay, it was Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. Like, to an extent, that's the NFL. I taped my Friday hit with DC News Now earlier today. Spoiler alert, that's not live. I'm not up with Derek Forrest talking about sports at 11 o'clock on a Friday night. I think anyone that listens to the show long-term knows I'm never up at 11 o'clock for any night. But the point being, Derek was like, what do you make of the defense, considering, yeah, you can say it was Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but there's always another Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And I was like, yeah, like, Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison are really good. They're not Burrow and Chase, but his point also holds some level of truth that you're facing the best in the world. And so to just expect a week where, I don't know, you face the New York Giants, who still, by the way, have Daniel Jones, who finally looked like at least something close to himself versus this team, and then Malik Neighbors, who seems like he's the next Jamar Chase. Like, you can't just rely on the opponent not being very good. And so with it not being Burrow and Chase, with it being a more pedestrian, albeit very dangerous and potent NFL offense who did score 40 points 2 weeks ago on the Rams, do we see real results that it doesn't take a nuanced eye to see on defense? Like, that to me is the what's at stake thing that I am watching this weekend.
I mean, I think that's a good point, just because, again, Joe Witt, he did try things last week against a Joe Burrow and a Jamar Chase. He was able to, I think Burrow was able to see through those disguises, when the safety was coming down. Granted, Quan was like tipping his disguise like too early.
Sure.
His coverage. So Joe was able to, all right, pre-snap, know where to go. And we're not going to go against, quarterbacks of his IQ every week in and week out. And the fact that they have that kind of chemistry. So I think that is a valid point that you raise about, not facing Joe and Jamar
right
week in and week out. Also,
okay, so if you perform like you do against Jamar and Joe, if you perform at that level against not that caliber, well, you still give up 25, 26 points probably to an NFL offense. Like, that's not a great outing.
Yeah.
It's not awful. You're not giving up 33, but like, it's still not good. And so that's the thing for me is like, okay, this is much closer to an average / slightly above average NFL offense. Can you impose your will for stretches of the game? Can you not? Because like the Bengals also did not punt.
Yeah.
So I would like to know who the punt returner is this week. And we'll see, like Jamison Crowder, if he's not up, it's probably Olamide Zaccheaus. If Crowder's up, it'll probably be Crowder. But like, I want to know because I want them to catch a punt. That's keys to the game. Catch a punt. Maybe I'll put one of those guys in the pick six, just as if to say, hey, can one of these guys get on the field, even if it's to fair catch, even if the final stats say 0 returns? Can I get a punt returner on the field on Sunday? And if you do that, now the offense doesn't have to be perfect. They have been. That's why you're 2-1. But you can't win games. Look, if you could sustainably win games by never punting and never turning the football over, that'd be a cool trick.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Nah.
And it's not going to happen in a new offense as great as Cliff has been so far. It's not going to happen with a rookie quarterback as great as Jayden has been so far. It's just unsustainable to expect that. And so the defense has to come to the party this week. And then I think, the what's at stake part of it, right, is if they do, if the defense comes to the party this week in some fashion, they show up with a tiny hat. It's like, did you bring a gift? No? Okay. Well, at least, hey, your presence is a present, right? If they come to the party this week, now we can start talking about this team as contending for a division. Now we can start talking about this team of like, oh, and of course, if they win, now we're starting to talk about, okay, can this team be something this year? And what does that mean in the long term? Because all of a sudden, Adam Peters needs to maybe kick up the pace a year, a la what Houston did, which is going great for them, by the way. But you need to start thinking about maximizing the number of years you can really legitimately compete while your quarterback is on the rookie quarterback contract, instead of being like, okay, let's aim everything at year 3. Maybe you start picking up the pace a little bit this offseason. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back here on the Team 980, your calls, 301-230-0980. It's a finish Friday. Anthony and I will pick the games, or pick the Commanders game coming up later on in the show. But next, you get to need your score and what you think the key to the game is on a finish Friday next. here on the Hoffman Show, Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We go around the NFL, our picks and analysis for every single game coming up at 4:30 is our show till just 5:30 today. I will say, if you want more of me talking about sports, what a ridiculous thing to say, except for you're listening to me do it right now. So I guess, I don't know, Anthony, it felt weird to say out loud. There's just some parts of this job that are undeniably weird.
If we want to listen to more of you?
Yeah. We did almost an hour WNBA show today because we had the Chicago Sky firing Teresa Witherspoon. We have obviously everything that's going on with the statements from the league, the statements from the WNBA APA about all the racist trolls that are just a plague on society in the league. And then we talked about that. We talked about the Fever season ending, and then we talked about the playoffs. So we talked about all of that on the WNBA show, Hoffman W Sports. If you want to check that out earlier today, you can find that on YouTube or in your podcast feed. So if you want something extra to fill the time, of course, listen to the Hokies here on the Team 980, or you can check that out. Of course, Take Command. We have a full preview of Commanders-Cardinals as well. So that's definitely a good listen this weekend. But right now here on the radio, live and in your ears, keys to the game, Anthony, beyond what we just talked about, the defense coming to the party. What's your key to the game this weekend?
My key to the game is another key from the offense's point of view or perspective.
Okay.
I'm going with Dan Quinn being just as aggressive as he was on fourth down in this game as he was on Monday Night Football against the Bengals. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think the line, the over-under line for this game is like 50 and a half.
Woo.
And so I think this is poised for a shootout. And I think if we're going to win this game, we have to be as aggressive, go with the analytics. If they suggest we go, and we try to convert. So that's my key to the game.
Yeah, no, I think that's I definitely think that's a good one. And I actually, that decision is somewhat complicated in that you're basically the goal of the analytics there. When people say, "Oh, go with the analytics," the analytics are telling you in this situation, your percentage of winning is adjusted X% if you go or if you don't go, if you get it, if you don't. And so there's a lot of various different factors that go into that. People think it's a simple go or not. It's a calculation, and there's an element of risk management. You have to feel out the game. Obviously you see your personnel, you see not. Because if it's if we go for the field goal, our chances of winning are going up, but it's a 52-yard field goal, and Austin Seibert has not been particularly good from longer field goals in his career, well, then that's going to change the analytics or how you interpret the analytics. Also, you have coaches like Dan Campbell who are not necessarily bleep the analytics, but it's, if I can go for it, I will, because it's a part of who we are. There's a mentality. There's a psychological element that is definitely there. And it's not just on the offense of I trust you. It's on the defense that I trust you. And so he sees it not only as the numbers typically say go and coaches are scaredy cats and they don't actually follow the numbers, which is also true, but this is a part of who we are. And so for Dan, he is someone who wants to establish a physical, aggressive, kind of confident atmosphere. And so actually, after they didn't go for it in a couple situations where people thought they should against the Giants, I asked Quinn after the game straight up, how much of this is data-driven versus reading the game versus kind of an identity piece when it comes to your fourth down decisions?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both as you're going through it. So we do want to be aggressive. So we communicate, what the situation is, what we would do into that spot, and then we kind of go through the week thinking that, what would be some third downs that would turn into fourth downs to go. So we like to give the play callers the information early to Cliff, so that way if, fourth down, it's a go at this number or this number, and it's a kick at this one. So my main job is making sure Cliff knows exactly when and where, and the same thing with Larry, compared to a punt or a field goal at those numbers. So that way we've already planned for that during the week. I don't want the game day ever to be a knee-jerk reaction. Hey, go for it, or get emotional about it. I want to be calculated, and this is, the decision we were going to make, including at the win. Do you have to go for a 2 to go win it, or take it into overtime? Those plays, you want to say, yeah, we've got a good call for that moment, and if it comes up, we're going to go nail it.
I love that answer because you can still, like, what's unsaid there is always the most important part, right? And what's unsaid is where he sets the number, right? Hey, 40-yard field goal and in, we're taking it. That number could be 50. That number could be 47. And by the way, that can change both on his aggressiveness and how much, hey, if we miss a 50-yard field goal, that puts us in terrible spot defensively. If it's 42-yard field goal, then we're more willing to whatever. Because that, obviously there's a third option, punt. So there's all of those factors. There's also, the wind on any given day. Your numbers get blown to hell if you're Brian Dable and your kicker pulls his hamstring on the opening kickoff. Then you're going for it on anything that you're not. Like, where's your punt versus go for it number? You take the field goal option out. So it is dynamic, but you can set, not while your emotions are running high in a game, you can kind of set your numbers and then hold yourself to account. So I think it feels like after week 2, they made a bit of an adjustment in week 3. And I think part of it was the opponent. They knew they had to score. Part of it was continued confidence in that Jayden kept playing better, so they were more confident in getting some of those. I think the last part is the cyber piece. The last part is, hey, we want to be aggressive by nature, but also we got a kicker that's like not been great over 50 in his career, nevertheless over 40 in his career. And so I think as long as Austin Seibert's the kicker, Anthony, long story short, I think they're probably going to keep going for it in a lot of situations when it's feasible.
Do you like our odds when we do that, though? Based off, what Cliff has done so far and short and manageable, I think he did a good job of, like, mixing it up also. Like, one drive, we're going to Luke. The second drive,
or Noah. We don't know. We think it might have been Noah, but Luke intercepted it.
And then the last one to Zach Ertz. So we're doing a good job of, just moving the ball around, getting to different people, using Jayden's legs.
Well, that's
Cliff
the main
has done
thing,
a phenomenal job, man.
Cliff's done a great job, but, like, you got an escape hatch. Hey, Jayden, if things get bad, just run.
Yeah.
Like, when Jayden's ran, he's gotten 3+ yards. He falls forward. He's tall. Like, he's 6'4". If he's standing on the line of scrimmage and falls forward and extends the ball over his head, he's basically getting, like, his standing reach is almost 9 feet, right? I don't know what his arm length is, but I'm going to guess his standing reach is probably close to 9 feet. Anthony, how many yards is 9 feet? Do not let Georgetown Prep down.
Say that one more time.
How many yards is 9 feet?
How many yards is 9 feet?
This is not a trick question. There's 3 feet in a yard.
3.
So it's 3. Yeah. Whoa. We're going to revisit that one later. That's going to go in. Wow.
Greg, you're asking me. I had to do a mathematical equation in my head.
Look,
I'm just like.
I sprung it on you, but that wasn't that. I
my
sprung it on you because I didn't think it would be that difficult. I feel like I should just put a poll out on Twitter that says how many yards is, or how many feet is, no, how many yards is 9 feet? And then I could put 3 and then brain freeze. And then those are the 2 answers. And let's see who's listening to the show.
Yeah.
That'd be a funny bit.
It would be.
Yikes, man. The point is, if he's standing on, if he is literally standing on the line of scrimmage on 4th and 3 and he falls over with the ball over his head, you can get 3 yards. So you got a guy who is really, really talented at getting a lot more than 3 yards. And he's now doing a good job of keeping his eyes up and throwing on the run. And he can play quick game pretty well. And he's also good at read option, like zone read stuff, / box counts, where, like, you figure out before the snap, where's his ball going to go. So yeah, he's a super weapon. If you need 3 yards, there aren't a lot of guys in, like, vets, whatever. There aren't a lot of guys in the league. And this has been the thing with Mahomes forever. Like, Mahomes, if you need 3 yards as a rusher, he can get that for you. They've run options. They've run, zone reads. They've run RPOs. They've run straight handoffs. Like, they'll get Pat on the move and say,
trickery.
Yeah, you and Travis just figure it out. Figure it out on 2. Ready, set, hut. Oh, they didn't jump off sides. Hut, Travis, pirouette. Now crawl between someone's legs, and then he's open. Like, I don't know. They're just magic out there. So yeah, I don't mind their current strategy. I think it's a good one. And we're going to send this tape to Georgetown Prep. And we're going to come up with a class there for emergency problem solving to arm future generations.
I put 12 inches to a foot, and then I was doing the
feet
to yards, and then I was. That's what was going on in my head. That's what I'm saying.
You didn't need all that.
I know.
Sometimes you really just gotta understand the question that's being asked.
Yeah.
And the ability to decipher the proper information and X out the stuff that, problem-solving strategy seems to. I'm
a slow worker, Craig. That's what I'm a slow worker.
Anthony, you could have written down that as a word problem and solved it faster than the time I gave you. When we get back, more problems to solve for Anthony. These are pretty simple. Is this team going to win or that team going to win, and why? Yes, you have to show your work on this test. We go around the NFL next on the Hoffman Show. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. It is 4:30 on a football Friday, a finish Friday here on the Hoffman Show. And typically, Anthony, we play some Take Command preview and all this kind of good stuff. But today, no, we don't have time for that because we got Hokie football coming up at 5:30. So, Anthony, what we shall do now instead is what we usually do at 5:30. That is to go around the NFL, take a look at all of the games, and make picks, give analysis, and hopefully people like it that are typically listening around this time, and they'll check out the podcast in the future. Other than that, if you want to take command and want that analysis, the good news is it's a podcast, and you can go find it on your time. Or right now, you could turn us off. That'd be rude. Anthony might come to your house and knock on your door and be like, "Hey, why'd you do that?" And this is a disclaimer that Anthony will not come to your house. But you get the point. All right, Anthony, have you found whatever you were scrounging for over there?
Yes, sir.
All right, I just looked up, and all of a sudden, Anthony's like, your like chest was in the camera. I was like, that is not a man sitting in his microphone.
Yeah, I had to grab my paper to see what our scores were for last week. We both went 8-8.
All right. It's an 8-8
because
lead.
we picked the Bengals to beat the Commanders.
Happy to be wrong about that one. Not going to lie.
You're currently 2-1, though. When it comes to picking the Commanders games. You're 2-1, I'm 1-2.
You're 1-2. Because I did not have them week 1. No. We did both go 1-0 last night. Hey, we're trying to go 1-0 this week. We had the Cowboys over the Giants. Nice little night for Dak Prescott. Scary, though, for them. Micah Parsons on a defense that, outside of playing the Giants, has really struggled this year. Micah Parsons, pretty nasty ankle sprain. We'll see how long he is out. If he is out, he's hoping to play next week. I believe they have Pittsburgh. And then, of course, Malik Neighbors left with a concussion after catching a zillion footballs again last night for New York. But let's get into it. Let's get into the picks. Week 4 in the NFL looks something like this. Saints and Falcons, NFC South showdown. Which version of each team is going to show up this week, Anthony? If you know that, don't tell me. Start making bets, because good luck with this one.
Yeah, this one stinks. Who's the home team?
The Falcons, who are favored by 2.5, in part because they're at home.
So that means they're begging us to pick the Saints.
They're not begging us to pick anyone.
Okay.
They're just saying the Saints are a half point better than the Falcons on a neutral field in theory, but typically you get 3 points for being at home. This isn't a line that doesn't make sense, though. I think the Falcons played the Chiefs tough last week. The Saints, despite being the better record team here, 2-1, Falcons 1-2. Like the Saints looked pretty rough last week against Philadelphia. So did they waste all their offensive magic in week 1? And is Atlanta suddenly figuring some things out and getting better and just ran into a really good opponent? That's honestly the way I lean. Is Atlanta slowly but surely like figuring a couple things out. They had some drives that looked all right last week. Like the Chiefs are good, man. And defensively, like they held pat. I know that part of it was ball control, lower possession game. You know, the Chiefs had one drive in the first quarter that was a 17-play drive, and then Pat got picked off by Justin Simmons, his arch nemesis in the end zone. So, like, there's some factors there, but like, if they can control the ball like that, then there's no reason that the Falcons can't do that. I think they can. I'll take Atlanta.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Falcons as well, and it's primarily because of their defense. I think the Saints have primarily benefited off the deep play by Raheed Shaheed, and I don't think, Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates are going to let that fly. I think they're going to be very wary of where he is at all times, and just to, like, keep everything in front of them. So I think I'm going to go with the Falcons to get the job done. And again, they were one play away from beating the Chiefs. One play.
But that's the Chiefs. They always figure out a way to get things done. Rams and Bears. Chicago favored by 3 in this one. It's in Chicago. Matthew Stafford's still Matthew Stafford. Can the Bears figure out how to get Caleb Williams on track? He put up big numbers last week, but obviously, we know that was enhanced by, well, I mean, you were there. It was enhanced by the Hail Mary at the end of the half. He didn't actually play that well. The defense has not been nearly as dominant as we thought they would be. But the Rams, man, every time I give up on the Rams, they do something like they did last week where they beat San Francisco was banged up, but then they go out and win a game that they shouldn't win. I don't know. Anthony, you pick first.
I'm going to go with the Bears. I think You touched on, their defense not living up to the preseason, hype, and also just building off what they did last year down the stretch of the season. I still do want them to lean a little bit more on the run. I know you're not the biggest fan of DeAndre Swift. He does dance a lot. But you have Roshan Johnson. You have Khalil Herbert. If he doesn't want to hit the hole and, get the run game going, then you have those two backs to lean on. I think the Bears bounce back. They lean on the run game, and their defense comes up and makes a huge play.
Yeah.
It's ugly. I don't like the pick either, to be honest. I like their defense, though. I do like the Bears.
Go
with the Rams. Go with Matthew Stafford.
I'm just going to take Matthew Stafford.
There you go.
He's great.
There you go, Craig.
He's still got Kyron. Sean will figure something out.
Yeah.
Defensively, they'll figure out a way to confuse Caleb, who just still is doing too much. My concern is that the Rams just don't have the juice defensively to because it's not like they played well defensively last week. The Niners had 6 drops.
Yeah,
you know how hard it is to have 6 drops?
Yeah.
I can't pick Chicago right now.
Yeah. I feel you.
They give me the ick. So I was so high on the Bears. They did so many things right from a personnel standpoint. It seemed like, and just it's not coming together. The flu stock is at an all-time low in the Hoffman household. Give me LA. Vikings, Packers. I also have no idea what to do with this one. The Vikings have looked so good. Do we know for sure whether Jordan Love is playing yet?
Questionable.
Cool. Officially listed as questionable?
Yeah, that's the report I got.
Yeah, questionable for Sunday's game against the Vikings per Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. Here's the thing. Love is super mobile. Obviously, we expect him to not be at his maximum mobility this weekend because he's coming off a leg injury. And this Vikings defense is nasty in terms of what they're able to do from a pressure standpoint. Brian Flores will bring the house. But Love is also a really good processor, and I think he'll be able to pick out some matchups, and LaFleur will give him a good game plan. I'm just such a big believer in LaFleur that Green Bay is favored by 3 at home. If this game's in Minnesota, I'd probably go Minnesota. I'm just going to take the Packers. It's going to be a raucous atmosphere. It's a 1 o'clock game, but, raucous atmosphere. Sam Darnold and company are going to go in. The one thing that does scare me is, JJ and Jair Alexander have a bit of a history, and when players have a history, I tend to favor the better player. But I'm gonna go. So I'm scared of JJ going nuts, but he can go nuts for my fantasy team, and I can still pick the right team. I'm gonna go with the Packers.
I'm going with the Vikings, Craig. Also, this game gives game of the week vibes. Both teams undefeated. Both teams weren't really talked about leading up to the season that much anyway. The Packers were, I guess, but the Vikings, because of Sam Darnold, he had a lot of questions to answer, and he's answered them. But also, I think their defense has just been playing lights out. If Jordan Love isn't fully healthy, if he isn't fully mobile, I don't see how the Packers get the job done. I think Brian Flores just does a good job of sending blitzes from everywhere. You never know who's dropping where and things of that nature. So I think his mobility is going to be a huge factor, and if he's limited, I think he could struggle. I'm going with the Vikings.
I wonder if the Packers have a package for Malik Willis in general, just to throw the Vikings off defensively. It's hey, Love is our starter, but if we get in a certain situation, we might just throw Malik in there for a series and do some QB runs. And but the thing is, you can still run your offense. It just kind of messes with the quarter or the flow of the defense, and lets Jordan see things from the side. I don't know. It's a wacky idea. If your quarterback's healthy, you typically play him, but you also don't see blitz heavy this often from a team like Minnesota's done so far this year, and a quarterback who's coming back off a leg injury. I'm going to go Green Bay. You're going Minnesota. One of us is going to be right. Steelers and Colts back in Indy for your boys. We don't need to spend as much time on this one, in my opinion. My analysis is fairly simple. I'm going Pittsburgh because they haven't given up more than 10 points to any team all year. Mike Tomlin knows how to create hell for young quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson is every bit of a young quarterback. He'll probably make a couple of highlight plays, but I will go with Pittsburgh.
I hope Zaire is not listening to this. I'm going with the Steelers.
Does Zaire listen to the show with frequency?
He pops in and out.
Oh.
He pops in and out depending on his time of his day, his schedule.
Good to know.
But yeah, I hope he's not listening right now.
Yes, Anthony's just trying to be right. Z, there are certain games we pick where we want to be wrong, but we also care about our record. So that's in case you're listening. Broncos and Jets, the Nate Hackett revenge game, part 2, because they played last year. The Jets favored by 8 at home. Broncos coming off the big win over Tampa. It's just hard to predict which version of Denver is going to show up. I don't think either version should be able to beat this Jets team with how they've gotten some things buckled down defensively. Rodgers starting to knock off some of the rust. He's been the best third down quarterback in the league this year. They're completing like 40+% of their third downs, if not higher. It's ridiculous. He's 5 TDs to 1 pick on the year. Breece Hall starting to get going a little bit. He's got a pair of touchdowns in the first 3 games. I'll take New York at home here.
I'm going with New York, man. They rolling, baby. And I don't trust in Bo Nix either. Sorry.
All right. Well, there's that. Eagles and Buccaneers. We got Philly coming off the win. Buccaneers coming off the embarrassing loss. Philly 2-point favorites. Second week in a row they're facing a team from the NFC South. Who you got in this one?
This one's a
sneaky tough game.
Yeah, it is because everybody's injured. Literally, Devontae's missing this game. A.J. Brown is questionable. If he's questionable, is Dallas Goedert going to have the game he had last week? I think Saquon, but the Bucs, they low-key like stacked the box. They have 7 in there, so
they've had their own injury issues.
Exactly. This is ugly. Mr. Craig Hoffman.
It's a rematch of a playoff game. It's not supposed to be ugly, but like Kalijah Cansey's out. Antoine Winfield is out again. Jalen McMillan doubtful. Bucky Irving questionable for Tampa.
I'm going to just go with the Eagles. They're the home team, right?
No, they're on the road. They got to go to that silly pirate ship.
I'm going to go with the Eagles, though, regardless.
Yeah, I think.
I trust Jalen.
I don't, but I'm going to go with them anyway. Bengals and Panthers. Cincinnati's got to get off the schneid, right?
They have to.
The
Panthers?
I don't know. Andy Dalton revenge game. It's at home. It's at home in Carolina. They looked pretty good last week.
Yeah, they did.
You know who else looked good? The Bengals. The problem was they couldn't stop Jayden Daniels. And Andy Dalton, it's not Jayden Daniels. I'll take Cincinnati. Jags and Texans. 0-3 Jags, 2-1 Texans. Houston 6-point favorites at home. Are the Jags in 1-2-3 territory, Anthony?
Yes, they are, Craig.
1-2-3 Texans?
Texans. Yes, they are. They are horrible, man.
Until further notice.
Trevor Lawrence, man. He got paid, though. He got paid. That's all.
I mean, he should theoretically be good, but, is what it is. Commanders and Cardinals, we will pick before the end of the show. Patriots and 49ers as we get into the 4 o'clock window. We got Commanders and Cardinals, Patriots, 49ers kicking at 4:05. Browns, Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers at 4:25. Patriots, 10-point dogs at San Francisco, despite the fact that we are, there's rumblings like Christian McCaffrey's calf thing is like, we know it's real bad. Because he's on injured reserve and he's in Germany getting second opinions. But we could see, we likely are seeing the return of George Kittle. We likely are going to see the return of Deebo Samuel. Brock Purdy missed some practice earlier this week, and Javon Hargrave is likely out for the rest of the season. But San Francisco enough to be 10-point favorites against the Patriots.
Yeah, if they're getting back some of the cavalry, I'm going with the 49ers. Again, they shouldn't have lost last week.
Purdy's been unbelievable this year.
Yeah, he's looked good. He's looked good, Craig.
Yeah, so I'm taking San Francisco. Browns and Raiders. This game doesn't deserve our attention. Anthony, who are you picking? Just one word, Browns or Raiders?
Raiders?
I hate picking Cleveland. I don't want to pick Cleveland.
I'm going to go with the Browns. You go with the Raiders.
No, because I don't want to be wrong. And
I'm going with the Browns. I think they're going to win.
Browns. Chiefs, Chargers. That game literally does not deserve our attention. I don't want to not be able to talk about the Sunday night and one of the Monday nighters. Chiefs and Chargers. Chargers are banged up. Chiefs are 3-0, have looked good. Chargers, I feel like it'll be a way tougher game. Like Kansas City's -7 The only reason I didn't give this game out on Competition Wednesday is I don't have faith that Justin Herbert's going to play the entire game, if he plays at all. I believe he's being listed as questionable for this one after the ankle acted up on him in last week's game. Let me double check that real quick. Injuries, Darius Davis, Justin Herbert, questionable, remained a limited participant in practice yesterday. But I would give, if Herbert plays, I would take the Chargers +7 here because I feel like it'll be a closer game than it should be because of how the Chargers play. It's a division game. Harbaugh's always got something up his
James,
sleeves.
though, Craig.
I know they don't have
Joe
Derwin
Alt,
James.
no Rashawn Slater.
I know, but it's Jim Harbaugh.
You're right.
He's a wizard, dude. But the Chiefs are just too good. So Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs, and also the Chargers killer, Travis Kelce. I think he's poised for a big game against those boys.
Is very, very possible. Okay, Bills and Ravens. I want to talk about this one. I want to talk about Seahawks, Lions, and we'll also pick Titans, Dolphins because we have to pick every game. But we're so bad typically, Anthony, about spending too much time on the early games. We've managed our time well. We can dive into this one a little bit. What do you think the biggest factor in Bills Ravens is?
Biggest factor, I think, is going to come down to whether or not the Ravens can get Derrick Henry going. If they feed him the ball, as they did last week, I think that's their best recipe to be successful and keep the ball moving. I like their weapons outside, but you have Derrick Henry for a reason. You brought him in, and this is a big game. The Bills are arguably playing some of the best football in football right now, so I think if you play, game of possession and run the ball, rely on your defense, leave them fresh, I think you'll be able to get the job done.
I think the key is Josh Allen staying clean, turnover-wise. If they stay clean, they have been the best offense in football. Like they are such juggernauts this year. They're doing a great job of using every single weapon because they don't have the best weapons in the league, but they have some really cool pieces. Guys like Shakir, obviously we know what Curtis Samuel can do. They've used him in some good and interesting and creative ways. Keon Coleman seems to find his way deep and open for explosive plays, which is kind of his thing down the field. So they've found ways, the tight ends as well, they found ways to use all of their weapons in the right spots, and Allen is kind of ascending to that top level of quarterbacking where he's making all the calls, he's in complete command. So can he avoid what's always been his bugaboo? If so, you then dictate the game where Baltimore feels like they can't just give the ball to Derrick Henry. I mean, I guess they can if they're scoring touchdowns, but it's a lot harder to do when you run the football. And so do you put the game on Lamar and say, hey, Lamar, defending MVP, keep up with the guy who's currently the favorite through 3 games as a passer, and is Lamar up to that task? Obviously, that's tall tasks for both defenses. They can have a huge impact on this game, but I think, if Allen gives away possessions, then you get to run the ball in the way that you're talking about. If he doesn't, and they're scoring, maybe not every drive, but every other drive, then the game flow stays where Baltimore wants it. So I think that's the key. Who you got?
I'm going with the Ravens.
I think the Bills are cooking right now. I don't love this because I don't think the Ravens are a 1-3 football team. And sometimes you go at that, but just like the Bills have been the best team in football.
Yeah, they have.
The Ravens are still figuring stuff out. All right, Titans and Dolphins.
Who are you going with?
Buffalo.
Oh, you're going with the Bills? Okay.
I'm going with Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. All right, Titans and Dolphins. I'm taking the Titans because I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Dolphins, and those are the rules.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Let's see. What is the latest? Looks like, Bradley Chubb is out. Kendall Fuller, questionable. Terran Armstead. God, they got a lot of injuries. Where's Skylar Thompson? Practice in limited capacity Thursday and likely to be listed as questionable for the game. So
Snoop. Uh-oh.
Yeah. I mean, Snoop Hundley's won a bunch of football games. He's also never made a Pro Bowl without ever really actually playing that well.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest Pro Bowl selections ever. Okay, Seahawks and Lions. Monday Nighter, the main Monday Nighter, if you will, on ABC. In that same slot the Commanders were last week. Seahawks are 3-0 as they head into Detroit, who's a 3.5-point favorite. The Seahawks are super talented and they're really physical. Like, they're a team that actually will match up and match Detroit's physicality. This is going to be a chippy, feisty football game. Like, Devin Witherspoon and Amon-Ra St. Brown are going to run into each other, and neither of them is going to come out of that collision happy. Well, they actually both will love it, but in a way that they're not happy with the other person. I think Detroit has more experience in these bigger moments at this point, which is crazy because it's the Lions. But they have done a really great job of matching these moments time after time the last couple of years. I think that they have more in the bag than they've shown so far this year. And I think, while Seattle's really good, this is the first time like Mike McDonald's ever been in prime time. They have a bunch of younger guys that are a little more inexperienced. While I think Gino's kind of reaching the peak of his career here, I still think I like what the Lions have more. I look for Aiden Hutchinson to make a couple big plays and Detroit to ultimately come away with the win.
You going with the Lions? I'm going with the Seahawks here.
I don't hate it.
I just love how physical their cornerbacks are. I think this is going to be a super physical game, like you just said. But I just feel as though Gino, the offense is still like finding this groove, and I think this is going to be a good game for Gino to like really get in his bag. They play a lot of man defense. DK is going to have opportunities. Tyler Lockett is going to have opportunities. Smith and Jigba, and I just think they have too much offensive to be playing those guys man to man, all three of them. So I think Gino's going to have a chance for a big game.
That is a great point. Detroit does like to man up quite a bit. It's interesting watching the Detroit Arizona tape, and you're just like, dang, they are matching up and getting after Kyler in a nasty way. The thing is, they get home with their pressure. So it is, hey, if you can get the ball out, there's opportunities. So it's a big Gino game. I think they can turn him over a couple times, though, and I think Detroit will get the win. Anthony's on Seattle, and that does it for our trip around the NFL in week 3. Back to Commanders and Cardinals next. Our pick 6 at 5. Yes, 5. We don't have any segment at 6 today because we are 35 minutes away from the Hokies pregame show here on the Team 980 on this Football Friday. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Final half hour on this Football Friday as we are making way for, well, some football. The Hokies here on the Team 980 tonight. Pregame starting at 5:30. So let us, instead of doing our pick six at 6, do it at 5. Same intro, though, Anthony.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
All right, so on Fridays, here is what we do. We take 6 players that we think are going to be the most intriguing in the game, we're most excited to watch, who could help the Commanders win, and we say, hey, this is who we think. I get 3, Anthony gets 3, and that's a total of 6. And then on Monday, we see how it went at, well, 6 o'clock, because, well, our show will actually go till 6 on Monday. So, Anthony, I get to go first. I'm first on the tee this week, and I am ready to go with number 1.
Number 1.
Number 1 is Frankie Louvu. Frankie Louvu is the key, in theory, to the Commanders' pass rush. I know everyone's talking about John Duran, and I'm not saying that Frankie hasn't played well this year or anything like that. I just think that they signed him not only to be a good off-ball linebacker, which he has been, not only to play physical and set the tone, which he has, not only to be able to match up with in coverage with some guys where he has been able to do that, but he is supposed to be a guy who gets sacks. He was an 8+ sack player last year, I believe. 8.5, I think, was his number. He can blitz. He can line up as an edge. They've used him in both spots. And I think against a quarterback like Kyler Murray, the blitz can be really effective. He's one of the worst in the league against the blitz. You can sack him. You can cloud his vision. You can get deflections and tip balls that result in interceptions. And Frankie Louvu is theoretically the guy who is the most potent pass rusher that they have. I think Frankie Louvu, who has not had a sack through 3 weeks, gets on the board this week, or needs to get on the board this week for them to have their best chance to win. And so I will say, as I think controlling Kyler and making sure he does it, because that's the other thing too, can you control him when he scrambles? And Louvu's got speed to do that. So with all that said, and by the way, he plays a huge role in the run game. I know I keep adding stuff here, but there's a reason he's first, Anthony. He plays a huge role in their run fits. They need to fit the run better. They need to do better in that regard and make this a one-dimensional offense if they want to maximize output against Arizona. For all of those reasons, Frankie Louvu, es numero uno.
I love that pick. Love it. You stole one of my picks.
They don't
But
pay
it's
me for
okay,
nothing.
Craig. They don't. I got you with number 2, though.
All right.
Number 2.
Number 2, I'm going to go with Austin Eckler's replacement, Jeremy McNichols. And yes, it's going to be hard for him to, duplicate what Austin Eckler did for our offense in terms of being versatile. versatile out the backfield, but also being able to, rattle off some long runs. I just need, solid production from him. Or, for simply him to, step in for a solid pass pro. We know Austin Eckler is good for that as well. So I'm more so just looking at Jeremy McNichols to just be a solid addition to the offense and, have some impact plays.
I like that pick. If I was going to pick one of the running backs, I probably would pick Robinson by the nature of I do think them running the football effectively is really important. Continue to support Jayden in that way. Obviously, Eckler was kind of the big play guy last week. He had the touchdown, had a couple other explosive plays, including the kick return. B-Rob, quieter week, but he had a $150 in the other win against New York, and we saw the impact he can have. And I think B-Rob's ability to be a weapon in short yardage and pick up first downs on 3rd and 4th and short when Jayden does hand him the football is obviously huge. But I don't mind the McNichols pick at all, and I totally understand why you say it. We saw how effective he can be in a big spot as a pass protector. He flipped Jermaine Pratt upside down on the 3rd and 7 touchdown to Terry. So he is a guy that will, he'll hit the assignments. It's just he's not as explosive as Eckler. And so
yeah.
I think the question then becomes who replaces some of the explosive plays from Austin Eckler. And I've been thinking about who I want to go here. I have a bit of a wild card potentially for number 3.
Number 3.
If I could double it, I would pick 2 guys. I'm gonna go with one. I'm gonna take my swing with Olamide Zaccheaus. I really wish we had. You remember the call from Shane from Oxon Hill that we played yesterday during Never Read the Comments? I want his pronunciation of Olamide Zaccheaus. If you can pull that up. Anthony, I already see Anthony at work. I can't even remember how he said it to an impression. But Olamide Zaccheaus is a guy that is tough to tackle, good vision in the screen game as a runner, and he's just big enough, thickness-wise. He's obviously not very tall, that I wonder if they throw him in the backfield and say, we're going to throw you the same screen that we set up for Austin Eckler. We're going to throw it to you, Olamide, because we think you're the guy who can do the best impression of Austin Eckler. He's also the guy that's going to return kicks. And we all know that Austin Eckler had the should-have-been touchdown against New York and the big touchdown, or the big not touchdown, but set up another touchdown drive to open the half last week against Cincinnati on Monday night. And getting consistent big returns and explosive plays in the kick return game would be an enormous boost. Depending on what they do on the edge, up front, who's up, who's down. Obviously, Jamison Crowder has been right on that line. Crowder's a guy that if I could pick 2 here, I would put Crowder in with Zaccheaus because I do think they could use him for some of the same stuff, and he has played some snaps offensively. But Jamison might wind up being inactive, and I'm not going to pick a guy that might wind up being inactive. So there's a chance that Zaccheaus is the punt returner. And as I said earlier in the show, Anthony, I want to know who the punt returner is this week because I would like them to actually force a punt. So Olamide Zaccheaus is my number 3, following Jeremy McNichols for you, and my number 1 / the number 1, Frankie Louvu. Who you got for number 4?
Number 4.
Number 4. I'm going to go with one of our safeties. I'm going to go with Jeremy Chin.
Okay.
I think he showed up huge last week. Coming down, being able to, tackling the open field, but also, help or be in position to break up passes down the sideline and things of that nature. I think him being consistent is huge for this defense. And if we want to, turn around where we are defensively, I think it's going to necessarily start with him because Quan is already playing well. Louvu is playing well. Bobby Wagner is playing well. And who was the other guy? Joe Witt named. We have 4 guys that are playing well. So I think Chin, if he continues to be consistent, continue to tackling the open space in the open field, and he's going to have a tough time on Sunday against the James Conner, against the Kyler Murray, and things of that nature. So I think he's going to be instrumental, especially playing inside the box.
I think that's a good one. And by the way, Quan Martin picking up the C on his chest for this weekend. Dan Quinn just spoke a couple minutes ago. Nick Allegretti, Quan, and Jeremy McNichols is your special teams captain. So, wow. Anthony, look at you. And I will say, Nick's everything I said about Jamison Crowder. He's been ruled out with a calf injury for the weekend. Emmanuel Forbes now tracking to play per DQ. So as we're recording, or not recording, as we're live doing this at 5:12 Eastern Standard Time on Friday, those notes just coming in. But with Chin, I think he's a great pick. He showed last week a little more versatility than we've seen from him, right? He makes that play with Gesicki on the sideline where Percy Butler's in man-to-man, and he's got, or it's two-man, and you know, he's the two part. He's the help, and he's able to get to the sideline and show range and speed. But I think the other thing with Chin is he allows them to play with that 3-safety look and have DBs on the field with speed and also not be too light in the box against the run because he is kind of that hybrid player. He would be his importance is downgraded by the fact that Trey McBride is not playing. So Arizona's love to get 3 tight ends on the field and then throw out of it. And McBride has been unbelievable as a young player in this league, starting under Cliff actually a couple of years ago. But with you know that's still going to be a part of their game, even if their best tight end's not there. So Chin's still going to be really important. It's just, man, he might have been higher on my list, I guess is what I'm trying to say, if McBride is playing, but he's still super important to what they do, and the way that Butler's playing, the way that Quan is playing, Chin rising to that level probably makes that 3-safety group their best package. All right, number 5.
Number 5.
Am I going to do it? Yeah, I am. Number 5 is Emmanuel Forbes. He's tracking to play.
Let's go.
He's tracking to play. I don't know how much he's going to play. And that's part of what I'm watching, right? This isn't necessarily the most important players. It's like, who are we watching? And the way Joe Witt Jr. talked about Sainer still yesterday made it sound like he might still get some run on the outside. Now, does that mean he's going to flex inside? Like, if they're playing 3 safeties, 2 corners, is Sainer still staying on the field? And if so, who's the other corner? I'm guessing it's BSJ. They've liked what they've seen from him. He's played physical. He's fit the run well. He's just got to stop giving up 1 long touchdown per game. So if he can do that, please God, then he's in good shape. He's playing well. Forbes, is he then the third corner, except for he plays outside and then Mikey kicks inside when they have the 3 corners on the field? So what's his usage? And then obviously, how's he play? Can he recover from a rough start to the season? Can he, with his thumb all healed up, play with the physicality and the toughness and the intentionality that they're looking for? Literally, the last play that we saw from him is the one that he got hurt on, where he got tangled up with whoever it was in week 1. Chris Godwin, I think it was. Evans, whoever it was in week 1. Or was it McMillan? In week 1 on that PI where he also hits the face mask. So that's our last impression of Emmanuel Forbes. What's the new one? And I'm not going to say like this game is his last chance, but he gets a reset on a chance to make an impression on this staff. And he did not start on the right foot with this staff, but earned their trust throughout training camp. Can he make that same evolution here in the regular season? I hope so. It'd be great if he came back and got a pick. They need turnovers. He's supposed to be that guy. Emmanuel Forbes, number 5. We have our eyes on you, number 13.
Number 6.
Number 6, Craig. This is a guy from the opposing team.
Okay. New feature this year that we're allowing. By the way, in case anyone's like, hello, Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels not allowed to be picked for the pick 6, but opposing players are allowed, unless I guess it's the quarterback. You can't pick Kyler.
No.
Okay.
Do you think I'll give you a chance to guess who I'm going to say?
Well, the guy that, James Conner or Budda Baker would be the guys, I guess, or Marvin Harrison Jr. It's one of those 3.
It's Marvin Harrison Jr.
Fair enough.
And part of the reason I say him, just because number 1 teams have been getting off against us.
Yeah, teams
last week,
number 1 receivers. You said teams number 1 teams.
Oh, teams number 1 receivers.
Just in case anyone didn't know what you meant. I got your back.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it. Last week we gave a 118.
Anthony, how many yards are in 9 feet?
3.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. I asked Rooster that, and he got it. He was like 3, but I think he was listening.
Anyway, that's a callback to earlier in the show. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes, Marvin Harrison Jr. Wide receiver 1 for the Cardinals. Last week we gave a 118 to Jamar, 127 against Malik Neighbors in week 2, And week 1, it was just a death by 1,000 cuts. Mike Evans got off, Chris Godwin got off, everybody got off. It didn't really matter. If we limit what Marvin Harrison Jr. can do, and it's a lot of pressure on our cornerbacks already, but I think if we bracket him, if we double him, if we just take him away, do what we got to do, I think we're going to have a more than solid chance of being able to pull this game out.
This is where things get tough, and where I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, but like Logan and I disagree a little bit on what the game plan should be. Logan is like, this is a week where you sell out to stop the run, get the extra body in the box. If you make them one-dimensional, you win. I just think this team needs to play a bunch of too high stuff and not leave guys in one-on-one situations. And I think it's actually in some ways more important this week because Marvin Harrison Jr. is a rookie, and making him figure out zone coverage at the NFL level feels like it would be the harder task than here is a cornerback in front of you, go beat him. He's been doing that his entire life.
Yeah.
So keeping them out of man-to-man situations. Now, they don't have a second weapon as good as T. Higgins, so if you want to play some man and then bracket him and just kind of leave the other side
Force Greg Dortch
zeroed up.
Michael Wilson. Well,
yeah, I mean, look, Wilson's a good player.
Yeah, he
and
is.
He's married to engaged to an American hero.
He is.
Yes, Sophia Smith, in case everyone's wondering. Dortch is like a twitched up, super great
I trust Mikey,
athlete. Though. But yeah, and that's the thing. So if you leave those guys man to man with no help, zero situation, and have that body in the box, but you bracket Harrison, like I can live with some creative coverages that try to do both. But I don't like the idea of him manned up on the outside. So that is a huge kind of philosophical conundrum, schematic conundrum for Joe Witt as we see what they do this weekend. All right, quick break. Come back, wrap it up quickly. Hokies football just over 10 minutes away, which means we will not have much time, but we pick Commanders-Cardinals next. weekend, please. We're almost done. It's the Hoffman Show. It's on Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. If I sound exasperated, Anthony, it's because I'm trying to change. I'm trying to log in on my new phone. I got a new phone, and just getting on your phone should not be this hard. I'm trying. I got passwords, and now I feel like one of those weirdos with two phones. I don't need two phones. Some of you guys need actual two phones for work. So if you're like, hey, I have two phones and I'm not a weirdo, I wasn't talking about you. Don't worry about it. But I'm now in a circle of Verizon hell, trying to change my password between the two phones, and I want my new one to work, and it's not happening, Anthony.
Yeah, I know that's probably.
I've been trying literally the entire show in every commercial break.
Good gracious.
Yeah.
You might have to just put one down and use your laptop for the time being.
I tried the laptop too. I tried to change my password, my Verizon password, because it won't let me turn on the SIM card on the new phone.
That's very annoying.
Yeah. But you know what? That's a problem I can solve in 3 minutes, because we have 3 minutes left in the show, Anthony. And we need picks. We need to figure out who is going to win between the Commanders and the Cardinals.
We do need to figure that out.
I don't have an answer.
I think I have an answer.
Who are you picking?
I'm going to pick the Cardinals and hope I'm wrong.
That's kind of my temptation. And to be honest, you doing it gives me the cover to say I didn't do it first.
Oh.
There is a part of me that's like, I think they could come out and play better as a team. The offense just, winds up punting 2-3 times, a couple of field goals. They score low 20s, but they give up, if they lose like 23-21, something like that. And it's a frustrating day at the office. Maybe Jayden gets picked for the first time. Something wacky happens, but the defense plays better. The offense we're not really that worried about. And they're we feel fine. Like for some reason, that's my vibe right now. I know it's Vibe Check Tuesday, not Vibe Check Friday. My vibe is that this is a tough defense schematically and a tough one for a young quarterback to face, a la Tampa. Not nearly as talented as Tampa, but defensively, they're not going to give up as many points as they did to Tampa. So it could look a lot like Tampa, but closer, but still not a win. But one that fans by next week are like, you want to know what? We're 2-2 through the first quarter. The offense generally is ahead of where we thought. The defense is now headed in the right direction, and somehow it's a loss that people feel okay about.
So now that you've said all of that, I'm going with the Commanders.
You're switching your pick. You did the old bait and switch.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Craig.
I've been baited and switched. I'm going to Arizona 24-21, and I would love to be wrong.
I'm praying you're wrong as well.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm praying you're wrong, man.
Are you headed out of town this weekend, or are you finally staying put?
I am staying put. I will be at Georgetown Prep all weekend long.
Hiding in a cocoon.
Yes.
Yeah, you've been a busy man, sir.
No, I need the time off. I need a rest.
Yeah, we got small things this weekend. Nothing major. But we got 425 date with television on Sunday, which is nice too.
405, right?
405. Yeah, good call. Which sucks also.
The WNBA playoffs are also Sunday.
They are, and there's a 3. Could we have done a 1:00 game Sunday? I know that interferes with kickoff, but 3 p.m. that interferes with the kickoff that I care about an hour later. Anyway, that's our show. Hokie football next. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you on Monday.